Pickering. Welcome to Linea Rock.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, great to have you here. So we were supposed to have Chris, but it's great anyways. And where are you going, actually? You are on the car?
Yeah, I am. As of right now, I'm actually working. I'm doing some... I'm dropping some food off to some hungry customers. I do a little part-time driving for just to get out of the house when we're not touring.
I see. And how many minutes do we have for the interview?
I have as much time as you want. As you guys are available.
Okay, so let's go. Naked Gypsy Queens, rock revival from the US. Authentic old school art rock with some, I must say, southern flavors. Volume up to 11. Blood, sweat, and tears. True spirit. You were born to be on a stage. You're from Nashville, if I'm correct, and you're on Mascot Records. And now, finally, Linea Rock. Why do you think is there such a need, for old school revival rock in recent years, on stage and also in front of it? What's your point of view on that?
Well, I think just for the past 20 years, a lot of music that's been put out there is just kind of just, that regular, like that pop beat or hip hop beat. And it's just, I feel like it's just gotten really filtered down and it's just kind of sounding all the same now. So I think it's a really good thing now with all these newer bands like Dirty Honey and Greta Van Fleet and Magnolia Bayou and just so many other good bands that are actually bringing that, rock revival back, and we can have, actual guitar playing and just instruments, again, instead of just the regular like computer programming stuff, I think it makes one hell of a show with like a full, instrument kind of stuff,
Is this the tendency, to look back, the only way to give a future to rock and roll? What's your point of view on that? What you haven't spread around is like an intuition of good hope?
Well, I think a lot of people just like that rock and roll style back in the 60s and 70s. It just made people feel really good. And I think kids nowadays and this generation now are, they're kind of gravitating more to that style again, and just that type of feeling that rock and roll shows, in those earlier years gave, fans and audiences. And I think people nowadays really want to experience that in this new time. And I think that's what a lot of these newer bands are trying to do.
The cover of the EP is very special. We see a room full of candles, which is also the set of a video. Where was this shot? Is it the home of one of you or the producer, the manager home? Tell us more about that location.
For Georgiana?
Yeah.
It was done at a venue, actually. It's called a Mockingbird Theater, and that's where we shot the video. And we had like 50 or 60 candles just all around, and it was kind of a fire hazard.
And is it in Nashville?
It's in Franklin, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes south from Nashville.
Okay. How did you develop your sound? Did you get inspired only by the old masters of hard rock, or in some way also by the new ones? What are, the new old-fashioned elements that distinguish Naked Gypsy Queens? Do you feel like part of a scene on a mission, let's say, for authentic rock and roll?
Well, we go through a lot of phases when we as a band. Like, all four of us all have so many, like, just complete opposite, musical tastes. But it all comes down to, like, how can we write the best song or the best album for the fans, and we all have that same goal. And and I think, and Devil really worked with that. I know Devil was written right around the time The Dirt came out by that film about Motley Crue, and I know that was kind of a little fad there for a bit of Motley Crue coming back, and so that's where we wanted that hard hitting kind of like Kickstarting My Heart kind of vibe, and then Landon and I were in California, and Chris sent down to the Devil just the riff, and we knew right away it was good. But I mean, now it's as we're progressing, it's gotten to not even just rock and roll. It's we love like jazz, and we love like 90s hip hop, like Biggie or Nas, Tupac, and even like newer hip hop artists as well, like Kendrick or just to name a few, and Lauryn Hill and stuff. But for those classic rock sounds, it's definitely, the best ones like the Beatles, the Allman Brothers, Pink Floyd, the Stones, and just mostly that kind of stuff, and the Velvet Underground.
Now it's time for some music. We will put on the ballad, If Your Name is New York, Then Mine's Amsterdam. What's the spark behind the inspiration of this song, and why actually did you pick New York and Amsterdam for the title?
Well, so Chris wrote the lyrics for New York, so I'm not 100% sure what the meaning is, but I do know that the song title actually came from one of our favorite movies, Gangs of New York. And there's a scene where Leonardo Di Caprio goes up to Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's like, I'm Amsterdam. And then he's like, well, if you're Amsterdam, I'm New York. And I guess Chris just, I thought Chris had the brilliant idea to kind of just change it around, because New York and Amsterdam are his like favorite cities, I think. And he wrote that guitar part, and then we all kind of came together and just finished the whole song as it is, and then a few changes in the studio, but what you hear is really, kind of what we wrote all together. So
okay, so let's take a listen to the song, then we will be back with a few more questions, and then you can go back to work. Okay. Okay. I heard that you recorded in Detroit, and that Alice Cooper and Wayne Kramer of MC5 heard about the band. They were around, and they came in the studio while you were recording. Is that correct? And what happened actually with them there? Did they collaborate some way on the songs? What happened?
So we met Alice. We had a long conversation with Alice, not so much Wayne, but what ended up happening was Alice had a recording session right after we did, and so we ended up going there the next day while they were tracking, and I think they just finished, or not track, while they were setting up, and they just were finishing pre-production, or not, just some post stuff on some of our tracks. And we ended up having a nice long conversation with Alice, and he was just telling us how bands now they need to get back into the makeup stuff, and how it needs to be like a show. And he said not a lot of bands are doing that anymore. And Wayne, we really didn't see him as much, but I know he pulled Alice back into the recording room, I guess because he had to do some takes or vocal takes or whatever, but that was the story behind that. It was really cool.
So did they hear any song in particular while you were recording?
I'm not sure. He might have. But when we met him, I didn't want to keep asking him about our stuff. I just wanted to keep at, because Alice Cooper, a legend. I've been hearing his songs since I was like 7 years old. Yeah.
So, you're from Tennessee. So, why do you think Nashville has become, the new cradle of rock in America? And why now? Has it something to do with its particular atmosphere? And actually, I was wondering, why didn't you record in Nashville, since, many musicians now come in the studios there, but you chose to go to Detroit. So that's weird.
Well, we we all started NGQ in Franklin, Tennessee, which is, like I said, was about 20 minutes south of Nashville. And yeah, we've always loved Nashville. The venues are great, and but we never really had a scene, or we never belonged to a scene here necessarily, because we've always considered, a lot of the scene here when we were starting was indie or like punk, which we love, but we don't really fit into those types of categories. I really wouldn't even know what you would put us in, but yeah. And the reason for Detroit, we love that Detroit Motown sound, and as well as MC5 and but mostly like Marvin Gaye and Herschel Boone, Marlon Young, and Al, our producers. We loved what they did with Greta stuff, and that's how we wanted kind of our EP to have that same kind of rock sound. And
Right.
I think they did great, and I think we're trying to go back up there to record our next album.
Okay, so Detroit Rock City was perfect. Was the perfect scenario for that. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So you cut your teeth on tour, and then in the studio, if I'm correct, you chose to record live. Was that, a choice, to capture that naked, what you see is what you get essence that's behind Naked Gypsy Queens? I got it right?
Yeah, absolutely. At that point, at that time, we were young, coming right out of the scene. We were hungry, and 18, 19 years old. We wanted the energy captured in this first EP of what the world can hear from Naked Gypsy Queens. We wanted them to hear a better version of a live show, pretty much. And we all knew the songs. We've had the songs written first, and we've performed them countless times before that. So, it was just kind of like a one or two take kind of thing, and then just overdub a few other like guitar parts or percussion, and then eventually, vocals. But I think for this next album, we're really wanting to kind of do more not professional, but more laid back, and really try and capture that studio album.
Yeah. So since you mentioned that, what's next for Naked Gypsy Queens? How many songs for the full album you have already recorded or written?
So right now we're still in a pre-production from the album, but we're just about done. We have about 15 to 20 songs written and recorded that we recorded for demos that we love. We sent them to our producers, and we're still trying to figure out what songs we want to put on the next album, and we're hoping it could be between 10 to 12. But yeah, we're all just super excited for it. Right now we're just kind of taking a little break because we just got back from touring last month, and it's just been a little bit nice break, and getting ready for the next year and starting, touring again, and then hopefully getting back in the studio.
Yeah.
Early next year.
So you're picking 10 or 12 songs out of how many? I mean, do you actually work on any ideas that you have, or you are picky and you just develop what's good?
Well, it'll be earlier. It was for the early stages of the album. We've had songs, maybe 3 to 4 songs that we've already written, a little bit after we recorded the EP, that we just always have loved, and we think it could capture a really good energy to the album. But then some of them, Landon, our drummer, he wrote the opening track that we're really wanting. He wrote the guitar riff on that, and it sounds amazing. Bo has written amazing stuff, melody stuff, and it's just all a collective, or a collaboration, rather than just one person writing the songs and then hands it to them, hands it to the rest of the band.
How many songs do you have ready?
We have about, like I said, 15 to 20.
15 to, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's somewhere around that, in that area.
And how did you keep warm, during these nearly 2 years of no touring, basically. And are you back on the road already, or are you still waiting, for the perfect moment and maybe for the release of the EP?
So we started back up touring around, I want to say, like July. We had our first few Nashville shows, and then we ended up touring a little bit around the U.S. We played a few shows with Buck Cherry. Yeah. And that was fun, and a lot of shows with Magnolia Bayou, a lot of clubs, and and that was very fun. But now since Thanksgiving, or the last few weeks of November, and up until the new year, we've just had a little break just to kind of get ready and to focus on the new year.
Okay, so next year will be like non-stop touring for you guys?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
And you're coming also overseas to Europe?
Yeah, we're in the works of that right now.
Oh, great. So behind the band, there's the same team that made, Greta Van Fleet solid, helping their success, talking about Marlon Young, Al Sutton, and Herschel Boone. Aren't you afraid that, insisting on following the trend, which I actually appreciate, maybe the industry, may distort your good substance and good faith? Do you have a plan to keep everything in control? And maybe it's down to the devil some way about those temptations, of the big success?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like I said a little before, the main reason we picked Marlon and those guys was because we loved that Greta sound. At least just because when they came out, it was we haven't heard anything like that in so long. It was a lot of the rock bands at that point were indie or still like that kind of garage rock sound, which we love, but it's just a lot of people are doing it. And then when Greta and Highway Tune came out, we were like, that sound, that's what we want, and we just got extremely lucky to get in contact with them, and they ended up being super awesome, a bunch of super awesome guys, and they helped us get that and our vision into the studio, and we ended up making an amazing record.
Did they find you, or you found them?
We found them.
Okay, so you sent over some stuff and they listened to it and called you back? That's what happened?
Yeah, it was kind of just like send it to this person, and then they sent it to that person. It was just kind of like a who you know kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, I get. Okay, so now we're going to listen to and see the video from Down to the Devil. Do you want to introduce it for us?
Yeah.
Go for it.
This is Naked Gypsy Queen's new single and music video, Down to the Devil, out now.
Grazie. Thank you very much for your time. See you soon.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.